This is really a story about starting over. It's about how a family that literally lost everything they had went on to build an empire on two wheels. It's an incredible story of resilience, really smart partnerships, and, in the end, a super bold declaration of independence. So let's dive into the journey of Hero MotoCorp. Okay, so before we go all the way back to the beginning, you just have to understand the scale of what we're talking about today. Hero MotoCorp isn't just a big company in India. No. By pure volume, just the sheer number of bikes they crank out, they are the largest two-wheeler manufacturer on the entire planet. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. And that right there is what makes this story so unbelievable. This global giant wasn't built on some old family fortune or anything like that. It was forged in the fire of a massive personal tragedy by its founder, Brijmohan Lall Munjal. So the real question is, how on earth does someone who starts with nothing build all of this? To answer that, we have to go back. Our story begins in a moment of historic and pretty chaotic upheaval. It's right here in the ashes of the old world that the spark of a new empire was lit. So you have to understand, the 1947 Partition of India was this massive, world-changing event. For the Munjal family, who lived in what is now Pakistan, it meant losing everything. And I mean everything, practically overnight. Their home, their business, their whole lives, just gone. They arrived in India as refugees, with basically nothing but the clothes on their backs and the will to start all over again. And it's this period of intense hardship that really forged the company's DNA. These values you see here, discipline, resilience, frugality, these weren't just nice words to put in a corporate brochure. For the Munjals, these were survival skills, hammered into them by having to fight for everything. So with these values as their foundation, the Munjal brothers didn't just survive. They immediately started to build. Their first big venture in their new home of Ludhiana was on two wheels, but it didn't have an engine. Not yet. Now, this wasn't just a one-man show. The hero's story is, at its heart, a family story. The brothers created this incredible synergy, and you can see how they did it. They split up the responsibilities perfectly. Brijmohan was the big-picture visionary, the strategist. Satyanand handled the nuts and bolts of operations and manufacturing. And Om Prakash, he was the guy building the sales and distribution network. This clear division of labor was basically their superpower. And this teamwork, it fueled some absolutely mind-blowing growth. Just look at this timeline. They start in 47 just making simple little bicycle parts. By 1956, they're building entire bikes under the name Hero Cycles. And then, in just a little over 2 decades, they became the #1 bicycle manufacturer in the entire country. The pace was just relentless. Okay, so they've completely conquered the world of bicycles. Brijmohan Lall Munjal sees the next huge opportunity, affordable, fuel-efficient motorcycles for a rising India. But he was smart. He knew they couldn't do it alone. They needed a partner with world-class technology. And in 1984, they found the absolute perfect match: Honda from Japan. This visual explains exactly why it worked so well. It was like two puzzle pieces clicking together. On one side, you've got Hero with its massive manufacturing power and deep understanding of the Indian market. And on the other, you've got Honda's legendary engine technology and precision engineering. It was just a perfect fusion of strengths. And their very first bike together, the CD100, was a total game changer. It was exactly what the Indian middle class had been waiting for. It barely used any fuel, it almost never broke down, and it was super easy to maintain. This thing became more than just a motorcycle. For millions of people, it was their ticket to a better life, a vehicle for their ambitions. The success that followed was, well, it was absolute domination. For decades, if you said the word motorcycle in India, you were pretty much talking about a Hero Honda. They didn't just lead the market, they were the market. And together, they climbed all the way to the top of the world. But you know how it goes. Even the most successful partnerships can run into trouble. As both companies got bigger and bigger, their ambitions started to pull them in different directions. And that led to one of the boldest and frankly riskiest decisions in Indian corporate history. It's kind of ironic, right? The very success of the partnership started to create new problems. As you can see here, their paths just began to split. Honda wanted a bigger independent slice of the booming Indian market for itself. Hero, on the other hand, was now a global player and felt boxed in. They wanted to export their bikes everywhere, and maybe most importantly, they wanted to build their own technology instead of just paying royalties to Honda forever. So after an amazing 26-year run, they made a mutual decision to part ways. In 2010, the Munjal family bought out Honda's stake, and in 2011, the company was reborn with a brand new identity, Hero MotoCorp. Now, this wasn't some nasty divorce. It was a strategic move, an evolution. But this, right here, led to the billion-dollar question that everyone was asking. The brand Hero Honda was an icon. The technology, the engine, that was all Honda. So could Hero really survive without the Honda part of its name and the engine that powered it? The stakes were huge. Well, what happened next answered that question, loud and clear. This final chapter is all about how Hero tapped into that same resilience it was founded on to build a new, independent future and really cement its founder's legacy. Hero's response was swift and decisive. They didn't just sit back and hope for the best. No way. They immediately started forging their own path, pouring tons of money into their own R&D, finding new tech partners around the globe, and designing their own bikes from the ground up. And the result? They didn't just survive. They held on to their top spot as the market leader. Incredible. Brijmohan Lall Munjal passed away in 2015, and he got to see his company make that successful transition, which is just amazing. His legacy isn't just about being a brilliant businessman who built a global giant. He's really seen as a nation builder, someone who created millions of jobs and proved the power of Indian entrepreneurship to the world. So if we boil this whole amazing story down, what's the blueprint? What can we take away? First, you've got to find resilience when things get tough, just like they did after partition. Second, use smart partnerships to get ahead. Third, always keep a long-term vision. And finally, when the moment is right, you have to have the guts to go your own way, to declare your independence. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. For a company that was literally built on courage, the courage to start over from nothing, the courage to partner up, and the courage to go it alone, what's the next frontier? Answering that question is what will define their next amazing chapter.